where we set the agenda for our meeting on November 1st. As we quickly head toward the end of the year, trying to do the city's business. We're excited to have a pretty full house here of citizens and students that we're going to recognize. Before we do that, I want to mention that today is, or this week is Red Ribbon Week, which is to pledge to be drug-free. It's an opportunity for us to promote the importance of a drug-free community. Certainly, as we continue to learn more about the prescription opiate heroin crisis that's really an epidemic through the country, it's very important that we do everything we can to promote this. And so I'm very happy to hand out to each one of our board members a Love Yourself, Be Drug-Free ribbon. And I want you to wear these if you would. Anybody else would like one before you leave? I'll leave them right up here, and please come get one.
Is that two go together?
No, they're just two different versions of the same thing. I might mention that I have had the opportunity in talking about this. I've had the opportunity to co-chair a national task force on the opiate heroin addiction problem and what it has done to young people. And I dare say that every family that I run into in one fashion or another, there's been a challenge that has hit the family or someone in the family. And we're going to be issuing a report with really a toolkit on how communities can respond to this issue. And I'm elaborating a little bit on this because I've got a captive audience of people that we're very concerned about in terms of those issues. So, we want people to get rid of their old prescriptions in an appropriate way, and we have those drug take-back days 2 or 3 times a year. There are other opportunities to bring awareness to this. We are fortunate that Arkansas and Little Rock do not have as big a problem as some of the other cities around the country that where it's really raging in the Northeast, in some small towns and communities. West Virginia, a good friend of mine is the mayor there, and they had 42 overdoses one weekend. So it can hit any size town, large or small, and so I would ask all of you to help to promote the awareness of this being a drug-free week. Thank you very much. With that said, we've got some opportunities to recognize some outstanding students who've done some great things that are a great credit to the city and certainly a great credit to their school. The first one I'd like to call on is the Baptist Preparatory School 4A girls golf state champions. And let me ask City Director Vice Mayor Lance Hines to do this presentation, please.
Good afternoon. If I could ask the Baptist Prep Lady Eagles to join me here at the podium, I'm going to read their accomplishments. I can just come up here and stand right beside me. The camera's up there, so y'all that way everybody. So don't turn your back on
You can all wave. Yeah, wave at the camera.
On September 27, 2016, Baptist Prep Lady Eagles won the 4A Girls State Golf Championship at the Maumelle Country Club. Led by the Dunston sisters, Baptist Prep won by 24 shots over CAC. This is the third Girls State Golf Championship for Baptist Prep. The other two were in 2014 and 2008. Caitlin Dunston, Bailey Grace Dunston, and Reagan Reed were named to the All-State team for 4A. The team is coached by Angie Hopkins, and she told the newspaper all the team is returning, so she is hopeful about next year. Billy Goss is the athletic director, Randy Goldsmith is the upper school principal, and Dr. Laura Bednar is headmaster. And then we've got 2 awards. The other one, Coach Hopkins, if you'll come up too, we've got a plaque here for you guys. that says, Mayor Mark Stodola, the City Board of Directors, and City Manager Bruce T. Moore congratulate the Baptist Prep Lady Eagles, 2016 4A Girls Golf State Champions. In the quest for the championship, the players and coaches exemplified outstanding sportsmanship, participation, leadership, responsibility, and teamwork. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
There you go. All right, let's stay up here. We've got one other plaque we're going to give, and this one goes to junior Caitlin Dunstan, won the girls 4A golf medalist at the tournament. This marked the second year that she shot a 73 in the finals, and the second year she captured medalist honors. She is poised to make a three-peat if her sister doesn't try to pull some sibling rivalry and best her in 2017. But for now, congratulations on achieving back-to-back 4A girls golf medalist. And Caitlin, this plaque says, Mayor Mark Stodola and the City Board of Directors and City Manager Bruce T. Moore congratulate Caitlin Dunstan of Baptist Prep, 2016 4A girls golf medalist. In the quest for the championship, the players and coaches exemplified outstanding sportsmanship, participation, leadership, responsibility, and teamwork. Are you Caitlin? Caitlin, there you go. All right. So as is our custom, the directors would like you to introduce yourself, and if you know we're going to go to college yet, let them know. You can just, since you guys are still underclassmen, you may not know that yet.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Dunstan, and I'm a junior, and I'm going to go to Belmont University in Nashville.
Hello, I'm Reagan Reed, and I still don't know where I'm going to college yet, so yeah.
I'm Macy Couch, and I also do not know where I will be attending college.
I'm Bailey Dunstan, and I'm a freshman, so I don't know where I'm going to college.
You just want to make it the next year, right? Okay. Well, good. Well, congratulations to all of you. It's great accomplishment you made, and to your coach. And do we have any parents here too? You know, you raise your hands and be recognized. Thank you very much for helping to bring up some fine young women.
Here, they want to get a.
I'm going to ask Vice Mayor Lance Hines to present another recognition, and this is to the Little Rock Christian Academy for the 5A Girls Golf State Champions. Lance?
Thank you. Well, I know there's one thing we do well in West Little Rock. It looks like we play golf really well. So, I have a little statement to read. On September 28th at the Hot Springs Country Club, Little Rock Christian Lady Warriors won their first 5A Girls Golf State Championship. The top three girls from Little Rock Christian posted a combined score of 271, which was 29 strokes better than runner-up Maumelle. Brianna Willis, Laura Hewitt, and Abby Blankenship were named to the 5A Girls All-State team. The team is coached by Caitlin Jones, and the school is led by Dr. Gary Arnold. Johnny Watson is athletic director, and we also have the head of school for the senior high here as well. If I could ask all y'all to come up here, I'll read the plaque, and you can introduce yourselves. All right. Mayor Mark Stodola, the City Board of Directors, and City Manager Bruce T. Moore congratulate the Little Rock Christian Lady Warriors, 2016 5A Girls Golf State Champions. In the quest for the championship, the players and coaches exemplified outstanding sportsmanship, participation, leadership, responsibility, and teamwork. Coach Jones, I'll present this to you. Congratulations. All right, ladies, just as the Baptist Prep team does, if you'll come up and tell your name, what year you are, and if you know where you're going to go to college, you can tell them that, or you can tell them you're undecided.
Hi, I'm Abby Blankenship, and I'm a junior, and I am undecided.
I'm Laura Hewitt, and I'm a senior, and I'm going to the University of Arkansas.
I'm Nicole Melton, and I'm a senior, and I'm going to the University of Arkansas.
I'm Brianna Willis, and I'm a junior, and I do not know where I'm going to college yet. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Parents, we have parents in the audience. Thank you very much for everything you do for us. We're not done yet. Let me call on City Director Brad Kazort for another presentation. Brad?
Thank you, Mayor Miles. Come on up. Point of personal privilege here. We're going to talk about golf again. I'm Catholic High. This is I get to talk about my alma mater, talk about the sport I love, and just to take a point of personal privilege here, the person we're about to recognize, his mother's in the audience, and she grew up, and I grew up in the same neighborhood, so there's a lot of things going on good here. Unfortunately, Catholic High did not win the team championship, but that did not stop Miles here. On October 5th, he became the boys 7A golf medalist, achieving the winning score at the state tournament at Centennial Valley. He shot a 6 under par 138, beating Connor Gott of Cabot by 1 stroke. He achieved back-to-back birdies on the 6,700-yard hole, which proved to be the winning strategy. Last year, he was 6th place in 7A with a score of 148, so he shaved 10 strokes off his score in 1 year to become the state champion. He's coached by Alan Thomas, Tim Ezai, who was a year ahead of me at Catholic High as the athletic director, and Steve Stracely as the principal, who could not make it today. But Miles, I have a plaque for you that I'll read. Said from Mayor Mark Stodla, the City Board of Directors, and City Manager Bruce T. Moore. Congratulate Miles Smith of Little Rock Catholic High School, the 2016 7A Boys Golf Medalist. In the quest for the championship, the players and the coaches exemplified outstanding sportsmanship, participation, leadership, responsibility, and teamwork. Miles, congratulations. And introduce yourself, and you are a senior.
All right. I'm Miles Smith. I'm a senior. I'm currently undecided. I'd really just like to thank my parents and my golf coach and all the board members for letting me receive this award and everything. So I appreciate that.
Very good. Thank you, Miles. And parents and coach, thank you very much. Vice Mayor Hines, did you have something?
Yes, Mayor, I mentioned that the head of the senior high was here, but I failed to mention his name. It's Mr. Roger Yancey. Sorry about that, Roger.
Okay, we have one more presentation to make, and I'd ask Kajal Desai to come to the podium, please. I'd like to introduce to you Kajal Desai, who is a senior at Central High School. And in addition to being named an Alexander Hamilton Scholar, she has also received the Presidential Education Award. The Hamilton Leaders Academy is a 5-year program that helps students gain acceptance to college and transition successfully to university life and then into the workforce. The scholars receive mentorship over the 5 years and support through the academic years, and that each leader week that they have brings them together for a week of intensive leadership training over that period of time. And through a competitive application process, there are 35 to 40 high school juniors that are selected nationwide to be Hamilton Scholars. And the winners receive a $500 scholarship to help defray college expenses, and a commemorative certificate, and a signed copy of Alexander Hamilton biography. Kajal is involved in a wide variety of extracurricular activities. She's part of the National Honor Society, the National Beta Club, the Mu Alpha Theta, CIAO, Students Taking a New Direction, Student Council, Science Olympiad, and many more. And helping people is what makes her happy. She also volunteers with a variety of different organizations, including Baptist Hospital, Arkansas Children's Hospital, Our House, and the Tiger Academic Support Center. I don't know how she has time to do anything else. But Kajal, we're very happy to present you with a certificate, and it reads, Mayor Mark Stodelen, the City Board of Directors, and City Manager Bruce Moore congratulate you on being named as a 2016 Alexander Hamilton Award winner. In achieving this distinction, showing that you are a dedicated student with a commitment to others, in addition to exhibiting academic excellence and activity in numerous school organizations and as an active community volunteer. So congratulations on your award. And we're very proud that you come from Little Rock and represent us so well. And you're happy to say something if you'd like. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kajal, senior at Little Rock Central. My plans after high school is to go to some of the colleges I'm looking in the state of Arkansas are Hendrix, Rhodes, U of A, or UCA. In college, I plan to major in biochemistry, and then after college, I plan on going into the medical field and becoming an anesthesiologist. Thank you, everyone who has helped me achieve this award. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kajal.
Mark? Central High Principal.
What?
Nancy Russo.
We have Central High back here? Oh, hi, Nancy, come on up. I didn't see you back there, and we were.
Winning an award here. I'm just
Well,
a proud principal.
but as the principal of Central High, I know you had a lot to do with this, so.
Oh, absolutely.
Would you tell us? And her father is here too? I'm sure he had a lot to do with it as well. But we're so happy to have you. I mean,
Well,
another
thank you.
Tiger getting recognized.
Well, thank you.
You know,
I'm
you're
proud.
gonna have to
I'm
camp
proud
out
of-
here pretty soon.
I am. I was just thinking how many board meetings I get to come to. It's an honor. And
Please.
thank you all for the recognition once again for a Central High Tiger. So, thank you.
Thanks for what you do, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, I think that takes care of the presentations for this afternoon. And we can now turn on our attention to the agenda. There's a modification to add M1, and if there's certainly no objection, we'll go ahead and add this to the consent agenda. And let me ask you to look through items 1 through 13. Yeah, we'll put that in the grouped items for the ordinances. But if you look through motions and resolutions 1 through 13, please. Director Adcock, you're recognized.
Yes, I'd like to have a presentation on 11, 12, and 13.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Moore, these are the, I believe these are the insurance items, if you would, please.
10, 11, 12, and 13.
10, 11, 12, and 13, okay.
Mayor, members of the board, we'll start with item 10. This is our health insurance provider. We went out for a bid in September, late August, September. We received both fully insured bids and self-insured bids. We are recommending staying with our current provider, United Healthcare. We are going to, as the board got accustomed to this year, is to provide a basic plan, but also to provide 2 buy-up options. Those were very popular with our employees, and so this recommendation would include providing 3 plans and a basic plan, and 2 of them with buy-up options. And the buy-up options really mainly revolve around the deductibles, and we're going to go over that. But this plan proposes that the city continue to pick up 100% of the employee-only health care coverage and approximately 55% of the family coverage. So at this time, we have about 2 slides we want to go over, 2-3 slides we want to go over, just that detail the plan options. And I'd like to ask Mr. Tom Kane from Stevens Incorporated to come forward. Tom.
Mayor and directors. So are you able to see the slide that I can see? Okay. So as City Manager Moore said, we received both fully insured quotes as well as self-funded quotes. This is our first renewal with United Healthcare, and so there was very limited claims data available for them. There was very little data from 2015, so it was a difficult renewal, to say the least. But what we were able to negotiate with United Healthcare, as City Manager Moore stated, 3 options for the employees, a base plan with 2 buy-up options. And I think it's important that we note that through September of 2016, we have 155 members, and a member is defined as an employee or an insured dependent. We have 155 members who have satisfied the $1,000 deductible on the buy-up plan. And we have 207 members who have satisfied the $1,500 deductible on the base plan. So I think it gives you some reference as we look at the options that we're presenting for 2017. We have over 3,000 total members enrolled. So if we could. Okay, I apologize for the small print, but I'll walk through this best you can. The left-hand column is the benefit features of the plan. The middle column is the current basic plan, or base plan, that the city currently pays 100% of the employee-only premium. And then the far right is the proposed basic plan for 2017. You can see there were increases beginning at the very top with the office visit copays. They're currently $25 for primary care, $50 for specialists. Those will increase to $35 for primary care, $65 for specialists. The urgent care copay stays the same, but the emergency room copay does increase to $300. The deductible increased from $1,500 for an individual to $3,000, and $3,000 for a family to $6,000. That was necessary to get the premiums in line so that we could continue to pay 100% of that premium. The drug card, we added deductibles to Tier 2 and Tier 3. So the deductibles will not apply to Tier 1, which is mostly generic and your lower cost brand drugs. There was an increase to out-of-network, but we're not concerned that much with out-of-network with United Healthcare because it's a very broad network, both in-state and out-of-state. You can see that premium costs did increase from $400.64 to $449, but the city is proposing to pick that cost up. And then you can see the dependent cost share as well. Are there any questions with regard to our base plan? All right, let's look at the buy-ups. It's the next slide. So this is a busy slide, but bear with me. Again, the benefit features are on the left, current buy-up plan, and then 2 proposed buy-up plans. And we think that adding an additional buy-up will be a benefit to the employees, giving them more choice. Currently, our buy-up plan has office visit copays of $20 for primary care as well as specialist. The first buy-up option would be $30 for primary, $60 for specialist, and then Plan 2, buy-up Plan 2 would be $25 and $50. So that's a fairly rich benefit even in today's market. The urgent care and emergency room stays the same, $75 for urgent care, $250 for the emergency room. Our current buy-up plan is a $1,000 deductible for the individual, $2,000 for family. Buy-up plan option 1 would increase to $2,000 and $4,000. Buy-up option 2 would remain at $1,000, $2,000. And then you can see the co-insurance and the out-of-pocket maximums for both single and family would stay the same. There would be some increase to pharmacy. The copays would increase from $10.30.50 to $15.45.70. And you would see there would be an increase for buy-up option 1 on the out-of-network. And then the appropriate premiums and cost share between the city and the employee. So if I was a single-only employee and I wanted to buy up to plan number 2, that would be $53.33 per month, or $26.67 per pay period. And again, those are gross dollars, so those would be funded through the pre-tax Section 125 plan, so the actual cost of the employee would be slightly less. Okay, I know that's a lot of information to absorb. Yes, Mayor?
So if the, Tom, to take that proposed buy-up for a family coverage, if you took proposed one, that would be an additional $260 per month, is that right? Or $284 if you take buy-up plan 2?
Well, I don't think that's additional. If we'd go back to the base plan, well, currently it would, yeah, there you go. So the proposed basic would be $225 for a family. And so if we can come back to the buy-up, if I wanted to buy up from the base plan at $225, it would be $260 for plan 1 and $284 for plan 2.
I see. Okay. I think there are some questions that people might have. Director Adcock, do you have any questions so far?
On the deductible on a single family, on a family, does the deductible, the whole family has to have a $2,000 deductible before they do what?
$3,000.
$3,000.
Yes.
Before the insurance starts paying anything?
And you're talking about on the base plan, the
Yes, the
family
base
deductible?
plan.
Actually, there's on the current, it's $3,000. On the proposed basic plan, the family deductible would be $6,000.
That's $500 a month the family would have to pay out before the insurance would kick in?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Moore, for some of our employees, having
not
to
an
spend
additional-
$6,000, that's over half of their salary.
Tom, I think it's important to point out, if you go back up to the current base plan, where you have the $25 and $50 specialists, that's when you go to the doctor, that's what you're going to pay, or you pay the $35 and $65. And that's why it was very important to show the numbers. Go back to the first slide. I asked them to do this to show how many of our employees actually meet that deductible.
362.
And you can see there was 155 that met the $1,000 deductible and 207 that met the $1,500 deductible. So as Mr. Kane said early on, we had to, in order to keep the overall premiums down, we had to look at how we could develop a good balance. And that's why I wanted to know what the numbers are, how many of our employees are actually meeting those deductibles. And also when you look, and Tom, I'm not sure if you got to that point where we're talking about the prescription drug charges, most of the drugs, as long as they're tier 1, are going to be pretty much similar to what our employees are paying now.
On the 155 and 207, do we know what pay scale those people are on? If it's the top pay scale of the city or the lower pay scale?
We do not have that data, no.
I would be interested in knowing that the people who are on the lower pay scale, if they're being able to take advantage of this insurance, even though the city's paying the basic charge for it and everything, are they being able to use it?
Well, they have office visit copays, as the city manager pointed out, so I can go to a primary care physician and get basic primary care for $35 under the base plan. And then I have access to prescription drug copays also, so I don't have to satisfy a $3,000 individual deductible. There is an individual deductible embedded in the family deductible, which means if I have a family, one individual in my family can get to the co-insurance, meet the individual deductible. The whole family does not have to satisfy the full $600. $6,000, yeah, excuse me. So that helps out families a lot, because typically we don't see multiple members in the same family have those kind of expenses in the same calendar year. And so by having that embedded individual deductible, one individual would get to the co-insurance, the 80/20, sooner than having to wait for the full 6,000. I think the important thing is to have access to primary care and prescription drugs without having to meet a full deductible. You know, a lot of employers, a lot of our clients have adopted high deductible health plans. And it's not uncommon to see a plan that has a $3,000 deductible with no office visit copays or drug card copays. And in that case, nothing's covered. Not an office visit, not a prescription drug, until that full deductible is satisfied.
Can you go back to the next slide there, Scott, please? So once you hit the deductible, then it's an 80/20?
Right, until
Is
you're...
that until, is there a stop loss on that?
Exactly. So right below the 80%, the out-of-pocket for a single person,
I see.
including deductible, is $5,000 for the year. So even if I have a catastrophic disease or accident, and I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical bills, as an individual, my out-of-pocket max is going to be capped at $5,000. And office visit copays and drug card copays accumulate to that out-of-pocket max. Under the plan that we had in 2015, it did not. It was just an unlimited additional out-of-pocket expense.
What happens when you meet that max?
When you hit $5,000 as an individual, you're at 100% for the balance of that calendar year.
Okay.
And that's regardless of if I could have multiple admissions, multiple diagnoses, it would all be paid at 100%.
Tom, you mentioned in order to keep the premium in line, what is the increase in the premium over the current premium we're paying this year?
Well, it started out much higher, and we were able to, through the RFP process and negotiations, get it down. I'm thinking the base plan is about a 12% increase, City Manager?
That's correct. The employee only that the city pays 100% of is a little over a 12% increase.
Yep.
And then I think it's important to note, and Tom might want to comment on this, but because I asked the question on our family coverage, what are employers our size, public-private, doing? And he said the city is definitely ahead when we look at where we're paying approximately 55% of the family coverage. So that's when you factor in the increased premium, that family coverage is also part of that.
What is the total benefit to an employee for this package, for the basic package?
Well, the premium is, on the base plan, is $450 a month. So the city pays that, so that's a little over $5,000 for the year.
Okay.
So I think Bruce told me that the additional cost from this year is about $1.2 million. That's the 12%
That's what I
increase.
understand.
If we were to offer the same thing we had this year, that percentage was much higher, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
What was it? Do you recall what that is?
34.9.
So to do the same thing we're doing this year, next year would cost us an additional 34.9% increase.
If we did not change benefits, we would be looking at a 35% increase.
Wow.
3.5 million. Mr. Moore, has the employees looked at this? I know you have a committee. Have they looked at this?
Stacy, yes, they have.
Okay. And has the 3 unions looked at this?
Stacy has briefed the 3 unions, correct?
Could we find out what their thoughts was on it, please?
Well, I know they were very clear with me early on that they wanted a fully insured plan, which this is. And, you know, we talked a lot about the deductibles, but the main issue for our employees before we went to United Healthcare was the doctor visit cost. And I thought, from my perspective, that was something, and I heard you all heard that throughout that year, and that's why I said, what's the best plan we can get that ensures that when you go to the doctor, you're going to pay one fee, which is $35, and not come out with a $175 bill. So this accomplishes that. Again, I thought it was very important to go back to look at, you know, how many of our employees are meeting those deductibles, and I was very pleased to see that number.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Hines, you recognize, please.
Tom and Bruce, did we, I think the thing that I look at, and we did it at my company 3 years ago because of facing a pretty high increase, we had to look at the way, did you guys look at what a true HSA with high deductible and no copays, the benefit where, I mean, I know with our company, we shifted to that, and it's a paradigm shift because everybody's used to paying copays. They're not used to paying the full amount. But what we found was we went to a high deductible plan, and I want to say ours is it's $2,000 for an individual and $4,000. And then our company was able to fund part of that deductible into an HSA account, which benefits the employee if you don't have high claims. Did you guys even look at that? I mean, when I see a $3,000, $6,000 for single and family, that puts us up into that area where if there was a cost benefit to that, or was it just a choice to not, that you thought employees would be more happy with the copay and it's a paradigm shift. We had everybody in our company, but what we found out is that people, either whether they were high utilizers or low utilizers, it worked out better not only for the employee but also for the company as a whole on cost control, that type of stuff.
Yes, we did. We did consider high deductible health plans with HSA available. The concern with those plans, and to your credit, you funded part of the HSA for the employee. Most employers are not in that position to fund the HSA. And so if you don't do that, the employee begins January 1 with a $3,000, $6,000 deductible.
Right.
They go to the doctor and they're faced with a $200 bill, and worse, they go to the pharmacy and a drug that was costing them a $40 copay is now $400.
Right.
And the concern that we have is that people will forego basic health care.
So the concern is even if we went to high deductible, there wasn't enough money left over in savings to be able to do some kind of subsidy to the employee for the deductible.
We didn't think so at this
Okay,
time.
that's all I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Director Fortson, you're recognized, please.
Do you happen to know how many of our employees buy the family plan?
Yes, I do. So currently in our buy-up plan, we have 1,718. Excuse me, in our base plan, 1,718 employees purchasing. No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. 293 purchasing employee plus family. And in our base plan, or excuse me, our buy-up plan, 137. So 293 plus 137 are buying family. It's 393.
So as a percentage of our employee base,
20.
that's not very high.
No.
430 out of the
Yeah. So
30, what, the 3,000 that you mentioned?
Well, about 2,000.
2,000.
The 3,000 number includes dependents. So if we're just talking about employees.
So obviously, by changing the benefit formula, you've held that price increase down, but it appears that the employee, and I don't know if we know our average wage for our overall employee base, but for my perception of what the average would be for a family plan, it's a pretty steep number. It's going to wind up being a pretty high percentage of monthly income if they opt for the buy down. And my question is, with all that preamble, and you said you had several proposals you looked at, was there any other benefit mixture that was not quite so expensive that had any appeal to you? Was there any other, and maybe a two-part question, any of the self-funded plans with fronting companies offer any kind of better mixture than this from a benefit standpoint?
I personally think that long-term, the city needs to be in a self-funded plan. The problem we had this year, we had about 5 to 6 months of recent claims data. And it's difficult as a consultant to recommend to go self-funded with that limited amount of data. Next year, we'll have much more data and we'll have a better understanding of what's going on inside the population from a health perspective. There are some other initiatives that I think the city could adopt long-term. We've discussed this briefly, but a few things that a few other cities I'm aware of are doing are some on-site health clinics to where the employees have access to primary care through the city's on-site clinic. City of Chattanooga does that. They also have an on-site pharmacy for their employees and insured dependents. And so when you're self-funded, you can do those kind of things. So I would hope that next year, I'm not saying that the city would go self-funded, but I think it becomes a more realistic alternative.
Of course, the market changes almost daily, and my experience in the private sector has been with a self-funded program with the proper type of reinsurance and stop-loss and the intense management internally. You can make employees happier and save some money at the same time, but it calls for intensive management of the benefit side. And, I mean, that's just that's an uninvited suggestion, but I think it's an area that has some merit. You also mentioned that we have a guaranteed renewable option for 7 years, but I assume that has nothing to do with guaranteed premiums.
No, sir, I wish.
I was afraid that was your answer, but I just want to be sure about that.
In this environment, you don't get multiple year guarantees with health insurance.
Not today.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I think that's all my questions for
Director
now, Mayor.
Campiris, you're recognized, please.
A couple of questions. If you go back, you said the premiums would have been what if we had maintained our present 40?
34.9.
So that means that we lost, or the insurance company lost a lot of money on us last year.
Well, yes, sir, and they only have about 6 months of data. So through the first 6 months of the year, they were upside down.
How much?
Well, premiums were a little less than claims, but you have to understand that does not include the cost of administration, risk, or any of the costs that United Healthcare incurs in administering the plan. So it was probably running about a 120% loss ratio.
And I'm a little bit perplexed on, we keep saying we've only got 6 months of data. Why?
Well, in 2015, the city was insured through the municipal league.
Right.
And the data that's available is claims paid versus premium paid. And so there's very little data that would suggest where the money's being spent, excuse me. It's just, and I addressed this last year when our recommendation was to leave the municipal league, was one of the things that, one of the problems is the lack of data.
Well, one of the, and this is no aspersion on you or Bruce or the mayor, but every year we get to November and we talk about an increase and we talk about lack of data. But I've been here for a long time and we have lack of data every year. And there is data someplace that you ought to be able to make an intelligent decision on. I mean, you know, these are pretty high deductibles for people who make not much money, or some of the employees that don't make much money. And I don't really see any way around it if you've got a 35% increase to maintain what we have right now. And we're still going to pay, what, $1.2 million?
Yep. And Director Campiris, you're right in the sense when you switch, you know, those companies, you're no longer with them, and they say, you know, you're no longer with us. I will tell you, if you can remember, we had a few years of, you know, very little increase when we were with one particular company, but we were with them for about 5 years. And so we are able to collect data. We are able to develop wellness programs targeted at some of the things that they see. So you're exactly correct. When we went out to bid, it was 5 months worth of data. We were able to add another month just for from the analysis standpoint.
You know, I'm like Gene. I think that, and we've said this every year, sometime we have to be self-funded, or we're absolutely at somebody's whim every year that we do this. And, you know, Brad and I have been saying this, and there's sometime you're going to have to bite the bullet, take the risk, and do it. And if we're 120% under, you know, upside down through 6 months, that's, you know, we need to really look at the numbers. But we've got to do something different. I mean, we're going to take into our budget session right now a $1.2 million hiccup. Is that right, Bruce?
Correct.
In a year where we're not making any, our tax collections are neutral, I think, being prejudiced because of internet sales, and which means we're going to have to cut in order to make our budget for next year. And if our biggest sole expense is this every year, then we're not being very good fiduciaries of our money if we don't figure out a plan. So, I mean, I agree, I understand everything you're saying, but I think that what I would urge us to do, since you and Alfred and everybody's going to be here, I guess on an ongoing basis, is in January and in February and in March and in April, someone comes up here and says, this is where we stand, this is what we're doing, this is what our numbers look like, so that we're not having a November phenomena each year of what we're doing. And I'll challenge y'all right now that y'all be back here on a monthly or every 2 months basis to tell us where we stand, what it looks like, get United's numbers, so we can make an honest decision. You know, the problem is United's is not going to want to give us all their money, because if our ultimate goal or one of our options is being self-funded, then they're going to help us exclude them. I mean, it's a very skewed system. So we have to depend on neutral people like y'all to come in here and tell us what's going on. And I think we need to say to them, if we do this, we want the numbers earlier, faster, and y'all crunch the numbers and tell us where we stand. I mean, you know, we ought to be able to say and show a graph that January to March of next year, we're this much underwater or we're above where we think we ought to be, and this is what the projections are, and this is what we look like, so that we can start making some decisions on how to do this. I mean, that's what, I mean, I agree. I believe everything you're saying. I think you and Bruce have done a great job of getting this down to at least something we can bite into. But I think if I'm going to vote for this, I want y'all to be able to say every month or two, you're going to be back here telling us where we stand on this. So it's in front of our faces every day of what we're doing.
Would certainly appreciate that opportunity. Would rather have that conversation. And also, how does that fit into a 3 to 5 year plan? Where do we want to be 5 years from now?
Exactly. I mean, it's, you know, we're as you said, we're now shooting. We've got till next November on this plan, and that doesn't say where we're going to be in the next year if we don't start talking about it in January. And that's the problem with this whole thing. I mean, it's, you know, everybody's concerned about it, but we get these surprises, and, you know, none of us, and these are, you know, if you look around the United States, these are not too bad numbers. If you look around what's happening in the United States, the deductibles are pretty, in order to do it, you've had to really jack up the deductibles, but it's just where we are. But we have to do better, and we're only going to do better if we start talking about it first of the year and all the time. So if you and Bruce and the mayor can figure out a way of reporting that to us so we can make, have intelligent discussions. You know, we have, our finance director comes monthly and tells us where we are on our budget. Every month or two, y'all ought to be here saying this is where we are on our health plan.
Agree.
And Tom, I'd like to know a little bit more about this lack of data issue too, because I mean, if we know where the claims are being paid, we ought to be able to get some predictability about that. I don't quite see the connection there, or the disconnection there. So maybe you could elaborate a little bit more on that, or give us an update,
Sure.
memo update on it. I'm trying to figure out. I mean, we've had data from previous. You know, we've moved 3 different locations in the last 3 years. And it seems to me there's got to be some data predictability about all that.
Well, it's certainly something.
I recognize that the insurance companies are in there to make a profit, and there's a risk factor that you mentioned, whatever calculation that is on that 120%. I know that in the municipal league context last year, based on the premium we paid, we didn't spend all that money in terms of premiums. So I don't understand how the data issue is a disconnect.
So the data that I'm referring to is the detailed claims data. And from that data, we can tell within a population what percentage of males age 40 to 45 have had a routine screening in the last 12 months. That level of data is not available through the municipal league, not today. And so underwriters...
Routine screening, but isn't it the extraordinary expenses that drive the premium up?
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, it's the brain surgeries and
so when an underwriter
NICUs.
is evaluating a risk, they want to know what are the case management notes, what is going on with that catastrophic event, what can I expect to pay out on that individual in the next 12 months. And if that level of data is not available, then they take a very conservative position or they decline to quote. And so the data is absolutely critical. We had 12 months where we really did not have the level of data that we expect to see in the industry today. And I don't know how else to say that. That was 2015 is basically a void of data.
But we only had 362 people that met the deductible, which means that when you're looking at risk, those are the ones that exceeded that deductible, which had some substantial medical condition.
Right, and we did not have access to that data.
To those 362?
Well, through the first 6 months.
Okay.
But not for 2015. And so on a group the size of the city of Little Rock, your claims experience is 100% credible. And so as an underwriter, I want to see 3 years of claims experience, not 6 months. And so there was that space where we didn't have anything that really told us what to expect in 2016. Now, I'll take this a step further, and to your point, we are now receiving a claims file from United Healthcare, and I say we, Stevens, and we do our own data analytics. And that will be available to you as well if you want to see that. And we can present it in a dashboard format, so it's a very high-level look, but it'll show you from month to month the trends that are occurring. You know, how compliant are we in our disease management? Should we be focusing on certain chronic diseases and helping our employees and their families do a better job? But it really does get down to the data, and I know you don't want to hear that.
I understand what you're saying, but it frustrates me that we can't make someone that we've paid a premium to give us the data on our own people. I mean, that is a real frustration to me. And that every time we change, we can't use what we did the last 3 years so you can make an honest decision to tell us what to do. And I would tell you that if we had that data and you could present it to United or Blue Cross Blue Shield or somebody else, these may be lower rates. I mean, and so it's our own, I'm criticizing the 11 of us up here, that we're not insisting that someone give us our own data, our own people, because we've paid the claims on those people. And we ought to be able to use that to make better judgments on what we do. And that's the problem. And that's the reason I want someone to come all the time and tell us where we stand so that we can say, we're falling down on this sort of person or that sort of person, or this is what we're doing and this is where we're losing money, so we can start making intelligent decisions. I mean, I know that the mayor is head of the municipal league, but I mean, we ought to be able to say.
I'm not. And I have no agenda there at all. It's just the data is data. And I mean, they got data. United Healthcare has data. QualChoice has data. I mean, you're right about that.
Again, but it's our data. It's like BJ's medical records. If she wants her medical records, they're her medical records. Yeah. And that's my frustration, is that I understand your problem and that you're advising us based on no data. So we ended up probably paying a little bit more than we should be paying because we can't present to these other companies. And probably we didn't have some people bid because they didn't have any way of calculating what we're doing. And, I mean, whether Tom can go and do something and say, we want our data from these other groups legally, I don't know. I mean, that's just, it frustrates me that we hear the same thing every year, that we don't have the data and we can't do it. And then we pay more premium, and then we go for a year or two with somebody, and then we switch, and we never get to being self-funded and that sort of thing. So in order to correct that, then we'll make you come down and visit with us on a regular basis. And I think that, you know, Bruce and Tom and the mayor ought to try to get the information from the last 3 or 4 years from the different insurers we've had, so we can see if we can use any of it. It may not be usable. It may not be in a form that we can use or look at. But we shouldn't allow ourselves not to try to get the information, to try to use it to make better decisions. And it's going to be too late for this, but it will certainly help us in 2017 and 18 if we can get it now.
Vice Mayor Hines, you're recognized.
Thanks. Bruce, I don't know if staff, what was the difference last year when we did the RFP? Or Tom, do you know, what was the difference between United Healthcare and the next lowest? Was it for some reason I got in the back of my mind it was a substantial difference.
Yes, United Healthcare was.
So really what you've got is United Healthcare underbidding. And I don't know whether that's done on purpose, but it seems like the other entities that bid on it were pretty close, and United Healthcare stood out as being pretty below.
Well, I don't know if it's completely fair to say that QualChoice's bid, they matched benefits with the municipal league, and that's not what we were looking for.
Right.
And so they kind of.
Right. Well, and just like Director Campiris is saying, I know for a fact, because I talked to one of the executives at Blue Cross, because he let me know that they didn't even bid this year because there wasn't enough data. They were not going to bid it because there was not enough data on it. So they were not going to make the mistake that United Healthcare made this last year. So one other question as we move off of this. Did we have MetLife Dental last year, or was that with Delta?
Delta. It
was Delta. So was there a substantial savings in moving from MetLife to Delta?
There was, but I'll leave Vice Mayor, that Delta's bid had to be thrown out because they included price in their initial proposal.
All right, thanks.
Director Wright, you're recognized, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Campiris kind of exhaustedly massaged my point about the data. My question would be for the city attorney if he were present, and that would be, can we not legally require you within the contract that we sign that our data is available to us in a format that's usable by us? And he's not here, so I guess he can't answer that question, but Mr. Moore, I would like to have an answer, because.
And I think one of the things, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it's the league just saying no. I really think it's a capacity issue. From my understanding, they just don't have the capacity to provide the data that we would like to include when we're putting something out for bid for healthcare. I think that's more. I don't know if you want to elaborate, Tom.
No, that's right. Their systems don't have the capability to report the data back to us in a file format that then we can take and use in our data analytics.
Well, can that material not be manually compiled? Because if it's our data, and if this were a court of law and they were legally required to provide certain data points to the court, they would come up with that data. Whether they had to hire a slew of folks to get it done, it would get done. But I think Mr. Moore understands how we feel about that, because I've heard the same thing since I've been here since 2007 as well, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either if you're paying for something. But be that as it may, Mr. Moore, I heard you state that the firefighters, the police officers, and other employees were made aware of this plan, so they know the changes. Were there any objections? Were there concerns?
I haven't heard directly from Stacy on any. I mean, obviously, anytime that there's change that that's going to impact employees. But again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. From my goal was to make sure that you can go to your primary care doctor and pay $35 and walk out of there and go get your prescription. And if it's a tier 1 drug, it's going to be very close to what we have now. The employees are going to have to ask their physicians, instead of prescribing this, can you do a very similar tier 1? And we've talked to Tom and his staff. The majority of the drugs are tier 1. So I had some ultimate goals going into it. I think we've been able to accomplish it. It was the main issue of employees going to the doctor, not coming out with a $300 doctor's bill.
Okay, well, hopefully everybody will understand that, yeah, it's going up, but at this point, we don't have an option. Thank you.
Director Fortson?
I think you and Director Compuris, Director Wright have pretty well covered the questions I had about our experience, so I'll stop there for this week.
Director Adcock?
Mr. Moore, did we know that the Municipal League could not provide us with the data that we asked for when we came?
I would have known that back in 2014. I did not know that.
Okay. Secondly, are the outside agencies costing us more in premiums for the city employees?
I've asked that question. There's HIPAA regulations where they can't really tell me a whole lot. But I will tell you that, as in the past, that there's a small percentage of employees that contribute to this increase. And we've had some very unfortunate things to happen in our organization. And I don't think it's unique to Little Rock, but when you have over 3,000 lives that you're covering, that sometimes that's going to happen. We've had years where we hadn't had any catastrophic types of event or illnesses, and our premium renewals have been fairly low. Some have even been the same, if you all remember, a few years ago.
Okay. Tom, the out-of-state people, the retirees that have moved to another state, under the Municipal League, I got telephone calls that they was not getting the full benefits of the insurance because they lived out of state. So this policy we're looking at now, how does it treat the retired people out of state?
United Healthcare has one of the largest networks in the country, and so they have providers throughout the United States. Now, one difference we have to be mindful of, Arkansas is an any willing provider state. Not every state is an any willing provider state. So you will go into markets like Chicago, for example, and you'll have a hospital like it used to be here, remember, where Baptist was in one network and St. Vincent's was in another. And so that is, for most places in the country, still exist. But there are providers in every market, so everybody should be able to find a doctor or a hospital as an in-network provider.
As long as they stayed in network, they would receive the same benefits that they would receive if they was in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all mine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor,
Director-
I would like to hear from the two representatives that we have here from the union.
Well, we typically wait until next week on that. I would recommend we don't violate our own rules on that.
Okay.
And certainly, many of their questions may have been answered, but if they have others, then this will give them an opportunity between now and the meeting to be able to answer those questions. If they'll, I know I was going to make a comment that we'll certainly take your recommendations between now and next meeting, and certainly give an opportunity for people to speak about it then.
Thank you.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question was about the unions, and so I guess we're going to do that next week.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alfred? All right, are there any questions on any of the other items on the consent agenda? Mr. Moore, if you would, Director Adcock asked on these other insurance quotes what the percentage increase is over the current
Sure. Tom, I don't know if you want
paying as a premium?
Tom,
Or
if you
maybe
wanna come
Tom
up.
can answer that.
Okay, so this is the good news. The the dental is actually a decrease to the city and the employees. The group life is the same. There's no change on that, as is the vision. So the only thing that we're really dealing with is the medical. Okay. Any other questions?
How about the vision?
So the vision's stays.
No change on vision? Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, we can now move on to the planning and development items. Director Wright, do you have a question on one?
I'd like a presentation on item 14.
Mr. Brzezinski.
Director Wright, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board. Item number 14 is an annexation ordinance before you that involves two Pulaski County Special School District properties. One is the Baker Elementary School, which is on Canis Road in the vicinity of Pride Valley. As you can see on the graphic in front of you. And then the second one involves the Robinson schools, just the middle school and the high school, those areas, that area that's highlighted on the graphic in front of you. And again, the request is to annex approximately a total for both sites of 77 acres. This was heard by the Planning Commission on a October 6th meeting. It ended up being on the consent agenda, and the Planning Commission vote was 10 ayes and 0 noes to recommend approval of the annexation.
And this request is coming from who?
The Pulaski County Special School District.
So they want to be a part of our system. What?
They want to be in the city limits.
So is this going to have any financial impact on the city?
If you approve the annexation, then we will provide fire protection and police protection, and then they'll have the ability to connect to the city sewer system.
But this will still be considered a Pulaski County school?
Yes.
Not little, okay.
Yes.
If you put that map back up, Director Hines, is this you or me? Vice Mayor Hines? Is this before Cooper Orbit or? So that'll be in Ward 5, okay. I was just wondering if I was going to pick up another school I had to worry about. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Director Adcock, you're recognized, please.
Tony, Scott, would you please put those maps back up and show us how close these are to the other city limits lines?
Director Adcock?
Connecting to the city limit lines?
Yes, the Baker is adjacent on what would be their north property line. And then for the Robinson site, the city limits runs along their west and part of the east and the south property line. So that both sites are adjacent to the city limits.
Have we asked the property owners connected to these if they would like to annex at this time?
City staff has not. Just as what's before you is one property owner requesting annexation.
If people are listening to this and they would like to have their property annexed, would that be possible?
Going through a process.
Okay.
That also involves the county and the county judge.
So to answer that, I mean, they could, but they couldn't go through this process.
No.
Okay, is this, so they will have the city sewer? Is that why we're looking at this?
That's one of the reasons, yes.
Okay. How close are the sewer lines to this, do you know? Or is that a question for John Jarrett and Mr. Marone?
All I can tell you, they're in the general vicinity, obviously, so they can connect.
Well, I was just wondering if it was going to cost our ratepayers to extend lines out to these.
The district is responsible for that cost. The
School district?
Correct.
Okay.
And they're aware of that.
Okay, they would pay all the costs of having the lines out
Correct.
there. Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Hines, you're recognized.
Tony, I've had several conversations with Mr. Shalhorn, who's representing the school district over this, and supported both of these schools have packaged treatment plants, which we have had our phones rung with people opposing these packaged treatment plants in our extraterritorial areas. So I think it's a public health benefit for not only the students there, but also a cost savings for our Pulaski County School District, which the majority of my ward is in the Pulaski County School District. So these are schools that most of my constituents and residents attend, and their property taxes go to fund them. There's also an issue with that we're working through the state legislature on the elementary school, which hopefully will be resolved this next legislative session so we can annex that property as well. There's a special carve-out state law that prohibits us from annexing the elementary school property. One other question, Tony, and you can, if you don't know it, you can get me I think there was a proposal for half-street improvements at Baker Elementary that were either deferred, or if you could, or Bruce, if staff could get me a write-up on that. We just want to make sure that if those half-street improvements are required or were deferred, that they're going to follow through on their commitment to do those in that area too. That'd be the only other question I've got. So if y'all can get me a research on that, let me know. Thank you.
Okay, that takes care of that item. Are there any other ordinances that you wish to have a presentation on? Any other ordinances? If not, Mr. Moore, do you have anything else for?
Mayor, as we adjourn, I'm going to hand the board members their packet of the program inventories by department, so you can begin to go through in preparation for our session on Friday, starting at, I think we eat breakfast at 7:30 and start the sessions at 8. That's all I have.
Okay, if that's it, thank you all very much for being here.